Coming up on Network Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo declares its measles outbreak over. Coronavirus cases in Africa near the 1.2 million mark. Plus, over 70 Nigerian-owned shops locked up by Ghanaian authorities in Kumasi. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. Authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo say the world's largest measles outbreak that killed more than 7,000 children has now ended. At a press conference in the capital Kinshasa, Health Minister Eteni Longodo said measles no longer existed in the country. Efforts to stop its spread were hampered by an under-resourced health system as well as conflicts in the region. Whilst international health partners are yet to confirm this, the announcement comes after a huge vaccination campaign that reached at least 18 million children last year. African countries are closing in on 1.2 million coronavirus cases, according to an update by Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The center tweeted that the cases are now 1,196,710 cases, with the deaths at 28,014. Recoveries also stand at 922,833. South Africa has the most cases at 611,450, followed by Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, Ghana, Algeria, Ethiopia, and Kenya. Southern Africa is the continent's worst hit region of the continent, followed by Northern Africa, then the West. East and Central Africa have recorded the least cases. Africa CDC has been urging nations to be more aggressive in dealing with the pandemic, calling for more testing and contact tracing. It recently launched an antibody testing drive to understand the magnitude of the virus infections in the continent. Now, Kenya's education minister has hinted at reopening of schools earlier than the initial proposal of January 2021 if coronavirus cases continue to reduce. Judge Magoha says tertiary institutions may also reopen earlier than was planned. Kenya scrapped the entire 2020 academic year because of the pandemic, but now the minister said it would be in the interest of learners to reopen schools early if the infection rate maintains its recent downward trend. The Ministry of Health has been reporting lower numbers in its daily updates, with the Director General saying the rate needs to be below 5% for a period of 2 weeks for the curve to be said to be flattening. The World Health Organization and UNICEF last week had urged African countries to consider reopening schools, but with strict guidelines. The United Nations is concerned about a possible humanitarian disaster should the continued escalation and mobilization around Sirte lead to military operations in Libya. Speaking to reporters via video link, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says the lives of more than 125,000 people in and around Sirte remains at great risk. Dujarric also said that the COVID-19 cases in the country continues to add to the crisis.
While confirmed cases are now higher in the west, particularly around Tripoli and Misrata, the larger proportion of the people live in the south have been affected. Capacity for testing, tracing, and treatment of people remains extremely low across the country, and there are shortages of equipment and supplies all over. Fuel shortages and electricity cuts of more than 18 hours a day are making living conditions even worse. Health facilities have also suffered from electricity cuts, forcing some to temporarily suspend operation. Access for aid workers continue to be a challenge, which is compounded by the pandemic virus restriction measures. We, along with our partners, are continuing to support a response to the virus by providing supplies and personnel protection equipment. We are also have reached more than 240,000 people with the help of our partners with humanitarian assistance since the beginning of the year, including 66,000 internally displaced and 58,000 migrants and refugees.
With support from the World Health Organization, authorities in Mauritius proactively prepared for the COVID-19 pandemic, including strengthening traveler screening at points of entry, procuring essential response supplies, and ramping up contact tracing and testing capacities. Health authorities say they had experience with contact tracing as a result of responding to outbreaks of other diseases such as dengue and measles. So in preparation for COVID-19, contact tracing capacities were strengthened. Mauritius is among a handful of countries in the world which have been able to stop the spread of COVID-19 within 2 months after the first 3 confirmed cases were registered. As of August 25th, the densely populated island nation has recorded only 346 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 10 deaths.
You know, since the beginning of the outbreak in China in January, we started working here. Around 15th or 16th of January, we had already made plans what to do. We had already started sensitizing the population through TV, radio, written press, so pamphlets, posters, sensitizing the whole population about the symptoms and signs of COVID, the preventive measures they should take, and what to do if they feel that they got the problem. This was going on almost every day to make sure that it goes in the mind of the people.
We started by the elaboration of National Action Plan for Preparedness and Response of the Outbreak. And this was done with the support of WHO. And this action plan took into account the 9 pillars recommended by WHO.
Now, one of Egypt's tourism centers by the Red Sea, El Gouna Resort Town, is trying to jumpstart tourism after the industry received a hard blow because of the coronavirus pandemic. Hotel owners say this suffering is the biggest crisis in the past 50 years, and Egypt's tourism industry is recovering slower than expected.
Owners of Egypt's El Gouna, a luxurious beach resort by the Red Sea, say they too have been hit hard by the coronavirus crisis and are taking all necessary measures to jumpstart tourism, which has come to a near halt over the past few months. Egypt closed its airports to international flights and shut famous historic sites in mid-March as the government looks to curb the spread of the virus. The government says tourism accounts for 5% of economic output, but analysts say it may account for as much as 15% if jobs and investments indirectly related to the industry are included. Joachim Schmidt is a CEO of Arscom Hotels Management.
Obviously, end of March. I was actually here end of March when this whole Corona issue first started, it took only a few weeks for the entire tourism industry to basically stop. I think it's the biggest crisis tourism has seen in the last 50 years, much bigger than anything else that happened ever before. It's not only tourism, I mean, it's also, of course, airline business, travel in general.
In agreement with the Health Ministry, however, Arscom Development Holding proposed that hotels and tourism resorts resume operations at 50% capacity in an effort to revive the industry whilst maintaining precautionary health measures. As of June, hotels certified as meeting regulations have been allowed to run at maximum 50% capacity. The number of guests allowed in hotels is limited, with regular disinfection taking place around the premises. The resort town is also supported by a fully equipped hospital, including a laboratory to run PCR tests.
Just like everybody else, we are definitely suffering very much from this coronavirus impact on the industry. So we are no exception. We are doing all the possible measures to just hold out until it becomes a bit more under control. But like everybody else, of course, the impact is big. We are getting much less demand. We have anyway curtailed the capacity so that we are able to keep more social distance in the hotels. As you know, we have proposed, and it was accepted by the ministry, that we stick to 50% occupancy, which allows people much more space. But the big problem is really the travel advisories of all the different countries and the fact that they keep changing all the time.
A statement from Orascom Development Egypt says the hotel industry is the segment hit hardest by the crisis, with revenues decreasing by more than 60% in the first half of the year. Egypt has so far recorded over 96,000 confirmed coronavirus cases, with 5,141 deaths.
Well, at least 70 shops belonging to Nigerians in Ghana have come under lock and key by a government committee on Tuesday. This is according to the National Vice President of Nigerian Union of Traders Association in Ghana, Mr. Kizito Obiora. Last week, many shops were shut down by Ghanaian authorities who say they've taken the action over the alleged failure of the traders to register with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, GIPC. However, Mr. Obiora insists that many of the outlets locked up belong to members of the GIPC with valid documents to show for it. This situation has been brewing on for a while. Last week, Monday, the Nigerian government said it was considering its options over the poor treatment of Nigerian traders in the country once it got all its facts. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Oyema, stated this in Abuja when he received officials of the League of Progressive Ambassadors of Nigeria. This video was sent in from Kumasi showing the Ghanaian authorities locking up the shops yesterday. Channels Television spoke to Mr. Kizito Obiora a while ago on the situation, and this is what he had to say.
The truth of the matter is, it is very clear now. It is very, very clear that Ghana government don't want us in Ghana anymore. I'm saying it from what is happening in Kumasi right now. If truly, that what these people are doing is what government send them to do, it's very clear that Ghana government don't want us in Ghana anymore. And we are pleading to our government to help us before we all die here, because it's not easy for us again. Many people even register with the GIPC, pay all their taxes, but when they come to your shop, they don't care. They don't care of documents you have. Their concern is, come out, we want to lock your shop, and they lock the shop with government officials. So, in fact, it's very, very annoying. I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is going on in Ghana. We are pleading with our government to come to our aids before things will get out of hand. As I'm talking to you now, all the Nigerian shops at Magazine, all of them are about to be closed down because they have never spared a single shop. They have never spared a single shop. And all the shops they are locking, all of them have documents. Some have registered with Register General, Internal Revenue, Ghana Revenue Authority, have their resident permit, they lock it. Some who even go to the extent of registering with the GIPC, that GIPC they're talking about, who show equity of $1 million, still they lock their shop. So I don't know what else they need from us.
So we'll be having more on the situation in Kumasi. Joy News TV correspondent will be joining us after the break, and also this. At least 13 dolphins found dead on the seashore in Mauritius after the oil spill on the island about a month ago. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still on the situation in Kumasi, Ghana, where at least 70 shops belonging to Nigerians in the country have come under lock and key. We have Prince Appiah, Joy News TV correspondent, joining us now on the program. Hello, Prince. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Help us understand why these shops are being shot.
Yeah, so in charge of retail trade of foreigners is saying is that they are looking at the GI, which demand that foreigners abide by certain of rules and regulations when it comes to.
We do apologize for that bad audio, but moving on to the situation in Mali, the International Organization of La Francophonie, OIF, has suspended the country from its membership. It's the latest body to take action following last week's overthrow of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's government by the military. The decision by the body that represents countries where people speak French comes days after the regional bloc, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which also suspended Mali from its membership, held unsuccessful talks with the military junta over a return to democratic rule. The coup leaders have said they were not interested in holding power and would hold fresh elections within a reasonable time. A demand by African heads of state to reinstate former President Keita is now off the table after he withdrew interest to return as leader. The OIF has said it will send its own delegation to Mali in a matter of days. Let's move on to Tanzania, where campaigning has begun on Wednesday ahead of a general election due at the end of October this year. President John Magufuli is seeking re-election and he's facing 14 challengers. The ruling CCM party has dominated Tanzania's politics for decades. The united opposition during the last election gave the party the strongest challenge yet. But the crowded race this time could give the president even greater advantage. Mr. Magufuli was widely praised as a reformist when he took office 5 years ago, but has since been accused of stifling dissent. In June, he controversially declared that the coronavirus had been defeated in the country through the power of prayer. Now, most Tanzanians have since resumed normal businesses in spite of concerns raised by critics at home and abroad concerning the pandemic in the country. Locusts continue eating everything in sight in Turkana, Kenya's poorest region, with swarms able to travel up to 130 kilometers in a day. The number of locusts exploded in East Africa and the Red Sea region in late 2019, exacerbated by a typical weather pattern and climate change. In addition to controlling the desert locust infestation, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations is responding to the impacts of the locust on the livelihoods of affected communities to ensure they get fully back on their feet.
The livelihood of agro-pastoralists in Turkana County, Kenya, has been greatly affected by the ongoing desert locust infestation, where up to 20% of crops were damaged in areas where the pests were present. In Turkana County, people's livestock are competing for pasture with billions of hungry hoppers. As a result, goats are not producing enough milk to feed their families. Anna Amurai, a pastoralist, says she used to get 8 jugs of goat milk, but now only gets 1 from her goats.
We now have to collect milk over several days, then add water to make enough tea for the children.
Pastoralists are worried that there won't be enough pasture for their livestock as the dry season is approaching. Moses Oreng is a pastor and member of Logum Livestock Association.
I know if the desert locusts disappear and God gives us a little bit of rain, the pasture will regenerate. But if it doesn't rain for more than 1 month and the hopper bands have finished all the pasture available, the livestock will suffer and die from hunger and disease.
In June, the agro-pastoralist community in Turkana County saw about 15 to 20% of their sorghum crops damaged or drop in yield. The FAO says even though about 500 billion locusts have been killed in the entire region, a threat of possible reinfestation towards the end of the year remains and continued surveillance will be needed. From June to December, many more people in East Africa could become severely food insecure due to the desert locusts alone.
My thinking is that if we can get well-wishers to join up with our government, because these are at the farmer level, they can't make it. We get aid from well-wishers, joined up with the national government, county government, and see how we can eradicate this pest, because it's a threat to humanity.
Turkana, Kenya's poorest region, is a vast, dry scrubland in the northwest that borders Uganda, South Sudan, and Ethiopia.
Seems like we're beginning to see the results from the Mauritius oil spill that happened over a month ago. At least 13 dead dolphins have been found on the seashore of the island, more than a month after the huge oil spill caused by a Japanese-owned ship. Campaigners say the deaths have been caused either by the spill or the authorities' decision to sink the ship's stem environmentally. The carcasses have been sent for post-mortem, which will establish the accurate cause of deaths. These are the first reported deaths of dolphins since the shipwreck. Up to now, many fishes and crabs have also been found dead. It is very rare for so many dead dolphins to be found at the same time in Mauritius. And it's good news coming in from Lagos State government here in Nigeria for prospective buyers in its home ownership initiative, as 774 homes will be completed under the Songotedo scheme before the end of the year. The Lagos State Commissioner for Housing, Mr. Moruf Akinderu Fatai, announced this during a visit to the site in Etiosa local government area.
Having a home of your own is a dream many individuals would like to see come true. But a state like Lagos with over 17 million people, accommodation remains a major challenge, one that the state government is trying to overcome with the Lagos Homes Initiative. Songotedo Lagos Homes is seated on 18.3 hectares of land with 1,188 homes. The project, initiated by former governor of the state, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, is sited in Etiosa local government area, and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is determined to deliver to residents.
We are on phase 1 here, which is 744 units. Phase 2 is 444 units. We'll be concluding this phase 1 before the end of the year. What we are doing now, as directed by Mr. Governor, is that all the existing schemes across Lagos are concluded within the second quarter of next year.
It's affordable housing and it's open to all.
We want to clear out and make sure that we kind of regenerate homes from the slums that we have in Lagos State. The Lagos State government is charged and ensured to ensure that most of the slums are wiped out, and those slums will be done up into estates and homes that a lot of citizenry in Lagos State, be who you are, will be able to own your own home in Lagos State.
At Lekki Phase 2, the 7-block scheme comprising 84 units is good to go. According to the Lagos State government, 774 Songotedo homes will be delivered before the end of 2020. Titilayo Abereowo, Channels Television News.
And that's where we end Network Africa today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.